In this episode of the podcast for the 17th of May 2021, I talk Eurovision, Hayley and I discuss music of the 90s and noughties, and Chris plays celebrity birthdays once again.
This is 90s and Noughties UK, a podcast on UK pop culture of the 90s and 2000s. If you want to contact the show, email 90esandnoughties@gmail.com, tweet us on @90esandnoughties UK on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook, 90s and Noughties UK.
Welcome to the 90s and Noughties UK podcast with me, Jamie Dyer. And unfortunately this week I'm not joined by any guest for this segment, but you get the idea. Normally what I like to do here is look up online and see what was happening this day or this week in the 90s or noughties. And in this episode, oh my goodness, this takes me right back. I remember sitting down to watch this back in 2006 and thinking, what on earth is going on? I had never seen anything like it in that competition before. Now I'm talking about the Eurovision Song Contest, and if you remember, in 2006, the Finland entry, Hard Rock Hallelujah by the band Lordi, and it was a huge difference for that contest. It was mainly known for like pop songs and dance songs and kind of quirky novelty things, and I think at the time it did fit into that. However, It was a hard rock. It was that band that wore masks. And it's not just that group that stands in my mind, right, that stays there. It's also the year that Lithuania's LT United did the song We Are the Winners, in brackets in some versions, of Eurovision, which was a very bold thing to do. And I so wanted them to win because it was such a fun song, and I downloaded it on iTunes at the time, and I think it charted in a few places. I can't remember whether the rule of downloads making the charts had quite reached it. I think it had just about come in, but I'd have to go and check my dates on that. But what a memorable year this was, especially because of Lordi. And the Spanish entry being Las Ketchup, who of course did the Ketchup song a few years earlier, which was a massive hit across the world, actually. It stands out to me because it's the year that I left school. I would have just been about to leave school at this time. And the entry for the UK in this year was Daz Sampson's school life, teenage life, right? I was 16 at the time, so slap bang in the middle of it. Was it a great entry? Possibly. I mean, it was different, but not as different as Lordi, was it? It wasn't as different as Lordi. We finished 19th place with 25 points. Lordi finished first place, obviously, with 292 points. Goodness knows what they would win now, the amount of points given that new system that came a few years ago, which really sets the cat amongst the pigeons, doesn't it? That is such an exciting thing, and I wish that we'd had that back in the day. Maybe we would have had more of a chance if we'd had that system where they had the juries and the public vote and then they combine it together and then the whole chart gets messed up. Maybe it would have been exciting. Here is my question to you, dear listener. Which Eurovision Song Contest of the 90s and noughties stands out to you? Which one is one that you remember quite fondly? I remember the year that Fairy Tale won, which that's a song that really stands out. That's a time and a place. I remember a little bit of when the UK won it in 1997, especially the song, playing it afterwards. It gives me chills down my spine. What is your memory of it? I would love to hear from you on that subject. And that was what was happening this week in 2006. It really does not seem like that long ago, but what a song. Lordi, Hard Rock Hallelujah. After the podcast, go and hit it up on Spotify. Go on, you know you want to. And now it's time for the main feature, and I'm joined by podcast regular Hayley, where I'm not quite sure what we're going to do here. We're just going to see where it goes for the next sort of 10, 15 minutes or so. Welcome back to the podcast, Hayley. Here's a question for you. What was the last 90s track that you listened to?
It's a song that I'm really liking a lot at the moment. It's called Crazy, and it's by a band called Let Loose.
Now I've heard of Let Loose. Have you got any more information about who they were or are?
They're actually a British band, because I always thought they were Australian, and I found out recently they are British, and I didn't know that, because I don't know why. I just thought that they were Australian, unless the video was filmed in Oz or something. But yeah, I'm really liking the song at the moment. So I've been playing it quite often. But I was quite surprised to read that they were British. And they had other songs. I've not actually discovered them yet, but it looks like they had a couple other like hits in the UK. So at the time, so back in like 94.
Yeah, the name rings a bell. I couldn't name any of their tracks, and I apologise to any Let Loose fans out there for that. I mean, normally when you're listening to music from that era, is that about where you kind of sit in musical era, about 94?
In regards to 90s, it can be anything. I've got like different sections because I'm quite good at remembering dates, etc. So due to the fact that I can remember having certain compilations at a time and certain on cassette and some on CD as well. But I certainly remember like anything between 92 and 95 or 96 as well. I had certain compilations, and 93 was a time, 92, 93 was a time I really started getting into music. Like I said, I could suddenly remember like certain songs, and I'd be like, I haven't listened to that for ages. I feel like listening to that again, kind of thing. So what kind of takes my fancy at the time. So
yeah, I have a very similar thing for between sort of 98 and 2001. That seems to be my kind of sweet spot, as it were, when it comes to it, because it brings back a lot of memories of that particular time, and some of them you like them because they remind you of that time. They're so like stuck in that era because of what was around, and then others, they kind of transcend that. They become almost timeless.
Yeah, I have to mention as well, one of my favourite years for music was actually 1999. The music that year, I mean, in the summertime, I can remember like all the songs were really good. Like if you were to put on a compilation of summer 1999, I'm sure that you'd enjoy all those tracks. But the whole year, I remember there's so many memorable songs that are out that year, and I love it when on TV if they do like a best of 1999 or something, and then I'm like, yeah, I love that one kind of thing. Like everyone's a good hit. You get me? So yeah,
I remember a lot of the compilations, certainly the Now ones. Every track was a winner, and I do wonder whether a lot of these things, because trends kind of there were a lot of trends around, a lot of fads, weren't there?
There was, yeah, exactly. And obviously, it was a time when you obviously had the girl bands, the boy bands, then you started having the solo artists like Britney and Christina breaking through. So yeah, at the time it was different trends, and then obviously starting up different pop music and whatnot. So
yeah, and some more questionable things. The thing that jumps to mind is Daphne and Celeste.
yeah, but I'll actually admit that I like them, and they released an album a couple of years ago, and I recommend it. It's completely different, and it is a good album. It's a bit of a hidden gem, I think, and it's definitely worth checking out.
So when you say like it's different, in what way?
Well, it's not kiddish pop so much. It's definitely pop, but obviously a lot more mature. But the way they've done it is really good. So
yeah, a lot of acts have done that, where they were very manufactured the first time that they came out, and then eventually it kind of goes on into something else because they try and modernize it. Obviously, we've talked on this podcast before about Take That and everything surrounding that. Are there any other kind of 90s artists that are still out there doing it?
I haven't listened to it. I guess she is classed as a 90s artist because obviously she started off in a band that came out in the 90s. I heard that Rachel from S Club 7, Rachel Stevens, has got new music out, but I actually haven't got round to listening to it. And another artist that I've just remembered that has had new music out, and it is quite different. It's saying in regards to what we've just said, that it's completely different, is Lolly.
Yeah. Real name Anna
Cumble, I believe.
Yeah, Anna Cumble, yes. If you could interview Lolly, what's the one thing that you would ask her?
Well, I'd say thank you, actually, because I'd say thank you for covering Girls Just Want to Have Fun, because I actually prefer her version to the original, and I love the music video. And also, Hey Mickey and Rockin' Robin. I love them as well, but the way she did the music videos and that, they were so upbeat and everything. But certainly Girls Just Want to Have Fun. I loved it so much at the time, and the video, I still love it now. It's just so awesome.
You see, I have a little bit of a soft spot for her track Viva La Radio.
Yeah, I'll look at it. As I say, I am a big Lolly fan, so
yeah, well, I need to go and check out some of this stuff because I am way behind, and Steps is obviously the obvious one, but I think they've almost like gone beyond the 90s. They're just like a timeless artist now.
Yeah. I like the new music, and I'm pleased they've stuck to what they know, and they're not being too experimental in regards to changing it. They've kept to the same format, but you can't beat the original.
Well, no, again, we have great memories of the first 2 or 3 albums that they released, and they are full of timeless tracks. I mean, obviously, recently, they've gone back to their roots, as it were. There's some great dance routines there. They're very catchy. They've worked with Benny and Bjorn from ABBA on a couple of things, which, of course, is quite meta in a way.
And you can see that a lot of it is ABBA-esque, actually.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, knowing that we are basically bouncing from one thing to another, ABBA-esque was the name of an EP by Erasure around, 1992?
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
I don't think I have, but I know that they did that kind of thing at the time. And regards to, again, bouncing off, I've just thought of a band that I used to really like, which were late 90s stroke early noughties,
18s, Upside Down.
Yeah, love that song so much.
Things that go bump in the night, or whatever it was called.
And that's All Stars. I love All Stars as well.
Oh, wait a minute.
And I'll mention that. All Stars, for ages, I was waiting for their music to come on Spotify because I really wanted their music, and I kept checking it. and it's only blooming well come up in it within the last month. It's on there now, and I'm like, it made my day when I saw it on there. It's got the Bomb for the Night single and the whole album that they released. I was so happy.
So have I just confused All Stars and 18s?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I believe there is a group of people or an organisation that track down the rights holders to these things and try and put stuff on there. So what you're seeing is probably the result of their work. So thank you. I can't remember their names right now, but it's on Twitter. There is an account up there. I've asked them to be on the podcast at some point because I'd love to know what goes into that. Who owns this stuff?
I'll mention as well that at the same time, I noticed that there were some of the A1 singles that are now on Spotify as well, which they weren't before. It was just the albums, but now, so you got some of the old A1 singles with the B-sides and the remixes, and that made me really happy as well, to be able to just listen to that one. I mean, yeah, I've got them still all on CD, but it means I haven't got to get the CD out and put it on the on my record player in the lounge. I can literally just listen to it on the go now, which is great. So
yeah, because there were a lot of extra material on those singles, as you say. There were usually instrumentals, remixes, other bits. I remember the ones that came with the Aqua singles were pretty good.
Love Aqua as well.
I know, it was a very particular sound, and they came back a few years ago sounding exactly the same.
Bless them. They are great. So yeah. And another band, which is Scandinavian as well, is Alphabet, and they're a noughties band that I really like, and I'm gutted because I was meant to be going to see them last year. Tour got postponed, obviously. It was going to be postponed to May this year, but now it's been completely cancelled and they're not going to postpone it. So gutted. And I've never seen them and I was really looking forward to going. So
now Alphabet, that was Fascination and Girlfriend.
Boyfriend.
Yeah. See,
yeah, Girlfriend Double Levine.
It's funny. The track Boyfriend, I was when I used to be a radio DJ, I came across a remix done by one of the guys at PWL who did a lot of the big stuff in the 80s, Kylie Minogue, Rick Astley, the Pete Waterman stuff. I came across this retro remix of the track Boyfriend, and my goodness, it was like this weird mashup. It was like somehow I'd landed into an 80s nightclub, and it was wonderful. And it made me appreciate Alphabet as an artist, actually.
I'd love to hear that. I bet that remix is amazing. I'd love to hear it.
It really was good. And it really showed you, I suppose, that you could do a 1980s or 1990s remix and make it sound fairly genuine. Yeah,
because touching base on 80s, I know it's 90s and noughties, but the kind of 80s music that I like is the Stock Aitken Waterman and anything like that, or anything like Tiffany, Kylie's, Sunita, Wham, all that kind of, that kind of thing. So yeah.
Well, a lot of that music went into the 90s, and it wouldn't surprise me if half the artists that you mentioned, even though some of them didn't make music in the 90s, I'm not mentioning any particulars, I remember picking up compilations, another throwback, into 1995, and there were a lot of remixes of very old songs done in a contemporary style.
And also, there's one band that it sounded so 90s. Well, it was 89. That was why it was obviously right on the border. Was Black Box. They did a song called Right on Time, and I love that song. I still can't believe it's 80s. As I say, it's so 90-esque. So
yeah, I mean, what was it the other day? I think it was Robin Raz featuring Layla K with Got to Get, which came up on my Spotify the other day, and I thought this is such a 90s track going on here, and then I look at it and it's released in 89, and you think, well, okay, I get it, maybe what we're getting is the leftovers from the 80s, really.
Yeah. probably just at that turning point, isn't it, really, just going into the 90s.
And a lot of it, you can see, as you say, the turning point into modern music as well. Well, I think we have gone all around the houses there. We bounced everywhere. I've enjoyed this conversation, actually. We've gone absolutely everywhere, and I'm sure we shall do it again at another point. Is there anything else that springs to mind, Hayley?
Not for me at the moment. I think we've covered all aspects, unless there's anything else you'd like to add.
No, only that I will have a look around on Spotify just to see if there's anything else, and I'll come back to you on that, because I need to really go and do some research.
I've just thought as well, because we're talking about like mixed groups, so obviously because we've mentioned Steps, I touched on S Club, and obviously then we discussed All Stars and 18s. Another band that's that kind of thing that I really do love is a band called Scooch. I just thought I'd mention them as well. They're great as well.
You like them?
Yeah.
Now, you're supposed to say for sure.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Not. Yeah. Well, there we are. We shall leave that on Hayley Likes Scooch, and we'll talk about that another time. But thanks, Hayley, for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
And now it's time for celebrity birthdays. Who's celebrating their birthday in the week of this broadcast? We're about to find out. Welcome, Chris, once again to the podcast. What else can we say other than, Chris, please start your questioning.
Right, question. I'll see if I can be a little bit better and quicker this time. Right, the first question I'm going to ask, I think it's similar to what I asked last time. Are they male?
Yes.
Okay, switcheroony on my thought process from before. Okay, are they a singer?
No.
Okay, now we're going down the path of danger. Are they a TV presenter?
They are a TV presenter, but in a very different sense. So you'd probably think of a TV presenter as somebody like Eamon Holmes, and these are just random names, Eamon Holmes, Jamie Theakston. This is not that kind of person. They're more of a broadcaster than a presenter.
So do they present a mainstream news program?
No. I would say, and just to shift your thinking to be kinder to you, they're more in the documentary field of things.
Okay. Do they do documentaries on real life events, or that's the first question. So yes or no?
Yeah.
Or real life events?
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a lot of realism in the stuff that they've done. Yes.
The material that they normally present or do documentaries, are they serious issues?
Some of them have a very serious edge to them. Yes, very serious.
Are they also famous for interviews?
Yeah, they have done interviews, yeah.
Okay, and because it's 90s and noughties, so in the 90s and noughties, were they under 40?
Yes.
Okay. Right, let me try to think. Have they ever done anything in their career that has been majorly controversial?
Oh, yeah, I would think so. I think nearly everything that they've done has a degree of controversy, but there are a couple of examples that I can think of that if I told you the name of, it would just give it away. But yes, they were very controversial, probably more so later than at the time, I would say, which probably doesn't help you at all, but,
I mean, not at all, to be fair, but we're taking what we can with the clues. Were they... Obviously, they were on TV, I presume. So were they late night TV, or they? Yeah, that's it. Let's start the question there.
I suppose so. I mean, their documentaries and some of the stuff that they've made for television has been seen after the watershed. I don't know whether that counts as late night. And I will say as well, because you might ask about their nationality, they are British American. And they were born in another country other than those two that I previously mentioned. Just a couple of clues just to point you in that direction, because we're nice here.
I'm thanking you for any kind of clue, because at the moment I am a little bit lost. I'm trying to think of people that have done documentaries, but they're also, when you said no to the interviews. So the first person I thought was someone like Martin Bashir.
Which you're very close. That's very close.
Oh, I'm very close. I think I only dropped that name because I've interviewed Martin Bashir, which is a real twist of events. But I'm trying to think of other male documentary. Oh, it's tough, really, to think. Was it ITV?
Well, no, I think majority of their work's been on the BBC.
Okay, BBC.
And they're still going now, making things.
Trying to think of who is still presenting things or documentaries on BBC. Okay, are they married?
Are they married? Yes. Yes, they are.
I mean, I feel like I'm in a canoe without a paddle right now.
I'll give you another clue. So they did a series in the early 2000s where they spent some time with some very famous celebrities of the day. And it was a lighter side, but quite controversial in hindsight for many different reasons, of which we won't go into.
With celebrities, were these celebrities big celebrities?
I would say at the time they were, yes. I will help you along even more. So they were quite young, actually, when they were making this stuff. You know, they're about maybe 25, 30 when this stuff was kicking off, which is quite young for a documentary filmmaker. And as I say, they're still making stuff now. And they like... is this a clue? They like weekends. In fact, you might even say they've spent a few weird weekends.
A few weird weekends?
Yes. I mean, we're having a man with a clipboard moment. I've just...
I think so. I think so. I think so. It's tough to think of people that are still doing things now, because there's so much on TV, so many documentaries. I can't think of anybody specifically that's still going from the 90s noughties that fits that description.
Let me spell it out like this. What was the name of the king in Jungle Book?
It wasn't Mufasa, was it? No.
No.
I haven't seen Lion King for ages.
Is it King Louis?
Is it King Louis? Okay.
Okay, and who did the song Bulletproof?
LaRue.
LaRue. So put those two together.
Louis LaRue.
Yeah, you're nearly there.
I mean, I'm finding this hilarious, although I'm sweating so much. I don't know. Put it together. I put it together. Louis LaRue. This is really embarrassing for me, and I am very sorry.
Right. Yeah. Now instead of saying le, say the, and then put it together.
Louis LaRue.
Yep. You're there. You're saying it. It's Louis Theroux.
Oh, right. Okay. Clearly, I was stuck on Martin Bashir and couldn't quite get away from him. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
There's a bit of a failure there.
It's a documentary filmmaker, journalist, broadcaster, and author Louis Theroux, who turns 51 this week of broadcast. It's all right. We don't get them all. Have you not heard of Louis? He did a series called Weird Weekends. And he also did a series in the early 2000s where he met celebrities. It was called When Louis Met Whoever. So, yeah, that is the celebrity birthday for this week. I'm sorry you didn't get it, Chris.
Well, I'm certainly going to be Googling it afterwards and kind of looking up on YouTube for all this and educating myself, I feel.
Excellent. Well, thank you for playing.
Pleasure.
And that brings us to the end of this podcast. I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to it and you for listening. If you'd like some extra content, please go and check out the 90s and Noughties YouTube channel, where you'll find taste tests and other 90s and 2000s related content. You can also come and join the live stream at twitch.tv/90esnnnoughties UK, and that happens every Monday at 10:30 p.m. UK time. So from me, Jamie Dyer, thank you very much for listening, and bye-bye for now.
Thank you for listening to 90s and Noughties UK, a podcast on UK pop culture of the 90s and 2000s. Please remember to rate, comment and subscribe on your favourite podcast provider. If you want to contact the show, email 90esandnoughties@gmail.com, tweet us on @90esandnoughties UK on Twitter, or check us out on Facebook, 90s and Noughties UK.